Hi, my name is Bridget Cook. I'm here to talk about An Untamed State by Roxane Gay. So first off, we'll talk about the author and the little historical background that is seen in An Untamed State. Roxane Gay is the author of An Untamed State, obviously, 80 and Bad Feminist, as well as many other stories. She's been published in magazines, newspapers. She's also an activist. She loves to utilize social media and get her word out. She's a huge Twitter fan. She's both a writer and a professor at a college, and she says that writing really helps her get through things and is kind of like a necessity in her life. She writes about things that are close to home for her. Obviously, An Untamed State is fiction, but a lot of what's in it was drawn from her own life, and she likes to explore with that. She likes to talk about her ethnicity. She's Haitian, and the main character in An Untamed State is Haitian. They spend a lot of time in Haiti and, talk about the struggles that are over there. The actual main idea, or theme for this book came when she overheard her parents talking about acquaintances they knew, family members who got kidnapped in Haiti, and she was like, well, what can I do with this, because this is a real problem that's going on over there. She talks about even closer connections and experiences than just, where she's from. She talks about more personal, like sexual assault. Muriel, in An Untamed State, gets sexually assaulted a lot, and this was kind of drawn from Roxane Gay's own personal experiences when she was much younger. She was gang raped. It took her many years to even, talk about it to someone, and she said still she hasn't talked to her family about it. She draws from her experiences. Of course, they are fiction, but they are pretty personal and kind of makes her stories so much more honest. The Haiti and Untamed State, we see the wealthy side, which Muriel's family is from, but we see the really poverty-stricken side that is what most of the state is in, and the crisis and the terror and everything going on. It's awful, and Roxane Gay really shows the different social classes and the tensions there. So yeah, itself in an overview, kind of. The main character's name is Muriel. She has a husband, Michael, and a son, Christophe. They vacation in Haiti, where her parents live, and she vacationed there many times as a kid. They go over there and they just want to have a nice day at the beach. They pull out of the driveway, cars surround them. Muriel gets kidnapped, and they put her up for a ransom for $1 million that her dad has to pay. Her dad doesn't really trust the ransom system. He's kind of too proud of what he's accomplished. He's built up his company and everything for a couple years, and he does not pay it right away, which the kidnappers don't expect. The main kidnapper's name is the commander, and once they realize, they might have Muriel for longer than they planned, things get rough. Things get, pretty cruel. They take turns. They rape her. They starve her. They beat her. It's terrible. She calls them every couple of days, like, Dad, help me, like, please pay for me. And he's like, we're getting it together. She deals with different ways to survive it. Finally, she does get freed, but she's a totally different person. She went through this awful experience, and she can't just return back to normal. That's so unrealistic. And especially her husband, who's had to deal with the pain of losing his wife and not knowing, is she gonna live? Once he has her back, he's just kind of like, I want you to be normal again. I want everything to go back to how they were. It was very fairy tale-like, very perfect, and she can't give him that. She's been through all this terror, and she's trying to cope with it some way. She's in a very dark place, and he just doesn't understand that, and the book kind of really does a great job of you know, they have this perfect family, and Roxane Gay does a wonderful job of like the present and then flashbacks to the past to show like how perfect they really were, and then, you know, back to the present and the cruelty, and then the aftermath, and it shows like they were perfect couple, like nothing wrong with them. You know, they come vacationing, you know, not expecting anything. She gets kidnapped. It's awful, terrible. Roxane Gay really describes it well. It's really awful. And then, you know, the aftermath, which is so important to the story because you can't go through something like that and just, you know, come out okay. The theme that Roxane Gay uses to tell this story is, you know, somewhat of a fairy tale. There's two parts. One part is called Happily Ever After, and one is Once Upon a Time. Obviously, right off the bat, kind of telling this fairy tale thing, and you might think, this does not sound like a fairy tale. She gets raped and beaten and starved. But, which, of course, is true. But Roxane Gay uses the fairy tale kind of method, mode, where in the before she was kidnapped and life was perfect in her flashbacks with Michael, Roxane Gay really does present it as a fairy tale. Mariel and Michael are madly in love, everything goes right, they're talking about all these fantastic times, you know, even when, you know, she didn't want to get pregnant at first, but then she did, she loved it, you know, there's not any bump in the road, is so minor, you're just like, wow, these two people are perfect for each other. And then it kind of switches back to what's going on, but you still do get that fairy tale sense, and you really, you know, you hope for a happy ending, you hope she's freed, and then maybe some people would hope that she goes back to normal, and that would be great, but, you know, that's not realistic. She really plays into the, you know, Mariel's kind of the damsel in distress, and all the men are kind of fighting over her, and Michael should be the prince in shining armor. And in the beginning, he is. He's the perfect boyfriend. He's the perfect husband. He's the perfect everything. And, you know, she's strong and she's outspoken and she's amazing. But he's there for her no matter what. But where the fairy tale kind of ends is in the after, and he can't really be the perfect husband. He doesn't really know how to cope with it. And a lot of the times he's wondering if he can ever get over it, because she's just not really giving him what he was used to, and he can't really deal with that. Other things that play into the fairy tale is, you know, the bad guy, she's a woman, Michael and the father, I guess, could be the, you know, good guys trying to save her in, like, the tower, which is more of a cage in their house, but, you know, unfortunately, she does get back to her family, but things aren't exactly happily ever after a long while. Another main theme in this book is kind of the animal-like, untamed state that is going on here, that really reflects right off the title. Nothing in Haiti or the kidnapping or anything that's going on, you know, makes sense. None of it has rules. I mean, life doesn't, but this is a whole different, you know, ground. Many times Muriel describes herself as an animal or wild or feral. She, you know, the place that she's being kidnapped in, she calls the cage, and she keeps saying the commander has this leash on her, and even after she's freed, she keeps going back, like, I just still feel this leash, like, I'm still suffocated, I'm still under his power, even whether he's there or not. And the only way to kind of get through it is to, you know, shut off whatever she was used to before and just kind of go with it in survival mode, and that's all, like, animal. And the guys who take her, I mean, they're animals. It's disgusting what they do to her. It's completely awful, and no one really knows what to do. Her father doesn't want to pay the ransom, so the guys are stuck with her, so they take more advantage of her, and everything is animal-like. Another huge theme in an untamed state is the gender. Kind of playing with the fairy tale that, you know, the men have all the control, she's just kind of the damsel in distress, but that's really kind of what it is. Muriel's stuck in this awful, awful situation where she really has no choice. She really has nothing to do with it. She's just punished for for her father having money. And all the guys are making the decisions. The commander's making the decision, do we free her? Do we wait for her father? Do we take more advantage of her? What do we do? Her father has the most control, and do we pay and get her back or not? Michael has not as much control as her father, but enough where if he wanted to get the money, not that they exactly have $1 million, but he could. He's in a position where he could make a choice way more than Muriel's in a position to make a choice. And there's a quote where it's kind of like she is punished for her father's sins. Like she just kind of has to deal with it. And that's true in the book. Her father's wealthy, and she has to deal with it. She lives in America. He lives in Haiti. Like, she's on vacation. She has nothing to do with his wealth, and yet she has to pay. The men have the control, and the women don't. And even her mom, claims she loves her husband, Fabian, which I'm sure she does. But she moves around. She sacrifices so much. She does whatever he wants. I mean, the boys have all the control in this book. And lastly, should you read An Untamed State? I think definitely. I think it's very valuable for men and women. I think, sexual assault is kind of something people don't want to talk about. They're not comfortable, and they're not even comfortable reading on their own about it, but it's important. It's important for people who've gone through it, even though it might hurt, but it's important for people who haven't and they understand. And I think especially the after, where you see that she's not okay, but that's okay not to be okay, is really important. And I think especially for males, like, males do go through sexual assault, but there are many males who are naive and, they don't exactly even know what rape is, but they really don't know the effects. It lasts for years, forever. No one really understands it. Everyone goes through it a different way, but I think it's important to see, like, Muriel didn't go through 13 days of kidnapping, beaten, raped, and then came out like, oh yeah, like, I'm feeling great now, like, let's go on with my life. Like, she really goes down. She really is down, and there's a couple parts where you're not really sure if she's ever gonna get through it, and she never will 100%. But it's really important for people to see that. And another thing that makes this book so important is the honesty. The sexual assault scenes are vivid. They're, maybe hard to get through, but they're honest, and the after is honest. And I think it's really important that Roxane Gay kind of does have some experience and can put that in there. A reviewer kind of said that Roxane Gay made him nervous, and that she was, like, too honest. I mean, what is too honest? I don't really see that as a negative at all. I think if she wasn't as honest in the book, then the sexual assault scenes would seem very fake. And they mean so much, and they do so much to the reader to make them think, because they are real. They are honest, and they're terrible, but that's what happens. And Roxane Gay herself, she should be honest. She went through something traumatic. She should be able to write about it. She should be able to speak about it. Being too honest isn't anything bad. The only thing that I would say would be a problem in the book is maybe the before seemed too perfect, too fairy tale-like. Maybe the characters would have been a tad relatable if, everything wasn't perfect, but I do understand they had to get the contrast to how the characters were in the end. But yeah, if you got time, you should definitely check out this book. Thank you.